Sock Poi and LED Poi. Friends, I'm not gonna lie, this is the mashup that I have been waiting for. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, I am coming at you with a review of these LED fabric sock poi, or as they're called, Neo socks, that are a collaboration between Neopoi and Sock Poi. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecha, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friends of the channel, Lain Mochinsky and Pekha Pekkonen. Thank you both so much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. So I have made absolutely no secret of my love of the fabric poi that Katya Stokhanova's online shop called Sock Poi produce. They're eye-catching, they're really simple in terms of hardware, they have a great weight, and quite frankly, they just look beautiful on video. So I was super excited to discover that they'd entered into a deal with LED poi company Neopoi to produce an LED version of those sock poi that I knew and loved. And well, once I saw them, I was super duper eager to get my hands on a set. As usual, I have my review rubric that we'll be going through that will include talking about the features of these poi as well as the ease of use, the durability, the brightness, the battery life, some personal thoughts, and of course, finally, the price. All right, so let's start things off by talking about features. Now, the theory, of course, behind these is that just like when you're using sock poi in your daytime practice and they have a wonderful visual profile, we're trying to make the same thing happen with LED poi. So we're using the LED assemblies inside of these to light up the entire sock at night. These are pretty much identical to the other sock poi that you'll find in Katya Stokhanova's shop. The one big difference, of course, is that instead of having the solid balls that are dropped into the ends that get turned into handles, these make use of the Neopoi handles that if I remember from my review of Neopoi's Contact Poi, I at one point said these really ought to be a standalone product, and it's really cool to see them used in that regard. Inside the heads, rather than using the bean bags that we are used to seeing from Katya's Sock Poi, instead we have these interesting little assemblies where the housing is 3D printed, but the inside is the capsule that we've seen before from Neopoi, mainly in their LED Contact Poi. So if you're familiar with those capsules already, it's literally just the exact same hardware, which also means that these get turned on and the modes changed using a single button interface right here at the very end. You hold on for just a minute to get it to turn on. You can navigate with a single button press between a bunch of different modes, and you can get to a different page of modes by holding down the button until you see that green flash. And once again, you can just use a single button to page through, I want to say it is 32 modes. It's basically 4 banks of 8 different modes. And of course, to turn it back off, you just hold down the button until it flashes out like that. To recharge the LED capsules, you have to remove the cap here on the end of this assembly, and that gets you access to a little micro USB slot that you can plug into the wall, and also it gives you direct access to the button that is used to turn on and switch through all the different modes for these. All right, now let's talk ease of use. So as many of you know, I have a test for any set of LED poi that I come across. Namely, how fast can I get them turned on and into a mode that is basically usable for me without knowing anything about how they are programmed. And with these poi, I'm happy to report that getting them turned on and into a mode that I like, pretty easy. No muss, no fuss there. I will say that the default mode that they turn on to is one that is kind of a shuffle that moves between a bunch of different modes. And at first it seems like it's going to be solid white mode, and then it turns out not to be. That was a little confusing, but aside from that, yeah, getting these turned on and into a mode that I like, not that difficult. I will say though that for accessing other modes and mode banks, the whole idea of holding down the button to get between different mode banks is one that isn't super intuitive intuitive based upon some of the other LED poi that I've used in my time. So that I definitely needed some help with in the manual, but like that's my only quibble here. And I do have to say, one thing I really like about how this design is set up is that you do have the single button interface that works through the sock here on the end. So you can switch modes very, very easily without, say, like having to remove the assembly to do it. Things like that are super helpful and make these a lot easier to use. There is one flip side to that, and that is just that in order to recharge the LED unit, you actually have to physically remove it from the sock poi, which takes a little bit of jimmying to do. It's not the worst, but I wish there was a more intuitive and easy way to charge them without having to remove the entire unit. I honestly can't think of how that would be done. I think that's just kind of baked into the form factor here, but yeah, it's just a little note there. All right, now let's talk durability. So I noted this in my review of Neopoi's LED contact poi a few years ago, but basically all the components that they use in their poi are 3D printed. And so there's always going to be a point of weakness between the layers that get set down in 3D printing. That said, these assemblies are the most flexible and solid 3D printed assemblies I think I have seen yet. So I'm not super worried about their potential for breaking in the future, if for no other reason than they do get a little bit of padding from the sock itself. The one and only thing I'll point out here, which ironically enough has nothing to do with the LEDs whatsoever themselves, has to do with the socks, is that these beautiful plain white socks that the light filters through also pick up stains. Like if you can see right here, I've already managed to brush both of these poi through the grass and picked up a couple grass stains. And because the LED handles are physically attached to them, I can't like run these, the fabric part of the poi through the wash. So I'd have to hand wash them. And, you know, again, I think that's just kind of baked into the design of these. I don't know that there's any way to like stain treat the socks themselves, but that's something to keep in mind as you use them. If they pick up stains, they're going to be pretty hard to get out. All right, now let's talk brightness. So straight up, the assemblies in these are super bright. It was something that I really liked about the Neopoi LED contact poi, which use the same sets of lights, and it's a great feature of these Neo Socks poi as well. You have no worries about them being bright enough. Everybody's going to be able to see you. This is all the more important, of course, because with these LEDs, they do have to light up the entire sock. I mean, the whole point of this, after all, is to illuminate the entirety of that sock, but they do a pretty good job of it, I have to say. So what about battery life? So some of y'all may remember, but this was actually one of the major things that I dinged the Neopoi sets on before, is just in exchange for getting that great brightness, we lose a lot of battery life. When you turn them on the plain white mode and just leave it there, solid white, you wind up with about 2.5 hours worth of battery life. If you light it up in rainbow fade mode, you wind up with closer to 3 hours of battery life. Now that said, it's been a couple years since I did that battery test and I didn't have a chance to run it again on these. I don't know if they've changed anything about their design or the type of batteries they're using here. So I'm just repeating that data because I'm pretty sure these are the exact same lights. But if I'm wrong in that regard, look to the comments of this video to see if I post a retraction or an update to that. So now let's talk some personal thoughts. So real talk, I love Katya's Sock Poi, and the biggest thing that I wanted out of these was to get the feel and the look of her sock poi, but have them work after dark. And I'm pleased to report that these absolutely do that in spades. My biggest concern with these, honestly, is that one of the things that I really like about the unlit sock poi is they're super portable. They basically crush down to a really small size, and I can carry them around in my shoulder bag wherever I go. I decided to try out an experiment, and for the past few weeks I have been carrying these around instead of the classic sock poi, just to see if I notice them taking up a lot more room in my bag and how comfortable that is. And in all honesty, even though the LED assemblies in these socks take up more room than the bean bags that are normally in the ends of these sock poi, that didn't make a huge difference in terms of the amount of space that they take up in my bag. Whether it's daytime or nighttime, these wound up being just about as portable an option as the classic Sock Poi, which is great. I will also say these unexpectedly wound up solving one of my few quibbles with Katya's Sock Poi, which is that I think that her handles aren't heavy enough and it's not easy enough to be able to stick other handle options on there. So the Neopoi handles, which I have always loved, now have completely fixed that problem with the handle weight as well as the profile of them. These feel fantastic. They feel much closer to, say, Contact Poi in terms of the grip that they have and the weight distribution that they have. So I'm giving an A+ for that. Now, all that said, there were 3 things that stuck out to me as I was testing these out that I think are possible areas for improvement. So number 1, even though these LED capsules are super bright and illuminate most of the socks, they don't usually get all the way to the ends of the socks. One of the reasons that the handles are so handy, pun intended, is that the lighting kind of cuts off by right about here. I don't know if there is another way to angle the LED capsules so more of the illumination is pointed down rather than out. But there was something that did jump out to me as I was watching video of these, is that the light distribution through the socks did kind of cut off at a certain point. The second thing, ironically enough, even though I love having the button interface on the end, is that the button's actually a little too easy to press. I found myself several times as I was spinning these, if I got up to speed, the centrifugal force that would happen pushing the capsules outward into the sock would frequently accidentally result in button presses that were not intentional. That is, the resistance of the sock itself pushing against the capsule would frequently result in button presses that were not meant to happen. It's really not that huge a deal, and to be perfectly frank with you, I could easily solve that by just removing the 3D printed element that covers the button and the micro USB port. It means it'd be kind of a little bit more of a pain in the butt to actually dig in there and hit the button and, you know, be confident that I was hitting it. But yeah, at the same time, I'd like not to have to modify them to keep from accidentally doing button presses, you know? Okay, so finally, this is admittedly a kind of shallow and superficial thing to like have a concern about, but like when you insert the capsules into these, we've got a little thing wherein the capsule itself extends past the point where the seam meets, and you wind up with this weird little kind of puff that happens outward with the seam that's impossible to get rid of completely. It's definitely not the end of the world, and it's one of those things that like there's definitely some element of like neurodivergent brain that's just looking at that and is like, I wish I could correct that. But yeah, I just wish that there was a way to make that seam disappear entirely so that when the capsule was in there, it would just be like totally seamless and like a normal looking sock rather than having that little bit that puffed out. I don't know, it's a little thing, but hey. So if you'd like to grab a set of these for yourself, the Neo Socks, that is the LED fabric Sock Poi from Neopoi and Sock Poi. You can grab a set of them for $150 a pair without the LED handles. They're $250 a pair with the LED handles, and you can do that over at sockpoi.store. That is the new storefront for Katya's company. Also, I'm really pleased to announce that I am sponsored by Sock Poi now. We've been trying to make this happen now for quite some time. And so if you're watching this video and you'd like to get a discount on a set of these, you can use my promo code DREXFACTOR over at sockpoi.store to go ahead and get yourself a pair of these at a little bit of a discount. Also, it helps out the channel so everybody wins. Thanks so much to Katya and the wonderful folks over at Sock Poi for finally connecting the dots on that and allowing me to be sponsored by a company whose products I have loved for years now. Did you get anything out of this video? Please leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe to help other people find it, and of course, to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible were it not for the kind support of all of these lovely people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon. They and the people listed down in the description help to make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. Thank you one and all for your very generous support. If you out there watching are not currently a supporter but you'd like to become one, you can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. There you can get access to a whole host of really awesome rewards, and even better than that, you'll be helping me out in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the whole wide world. So go check that out, please and thank you. And if you'd like to check out some of my other reviews of LED props, I will go ahead and leave a link to a playlist of them down in the description, as well as up here on screen if you are watching on YouTube. Also, the YouTube algorithm thinks that you might like this top video here based upon your past viewing habits, so maybe give that a look as well. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a new video real soon.